Hey everyone, it's me, Matthew. Welcome back. I'm glad you're here. Last time, we talked about the book of Judges and how the Israelites were going through this cycle of sinning, being oppressed, repenting, asking for forgiveness, having a judge come and save them, and then they'd have peace. And they'd continue this cycle. And this cycle eventually led them to doing whatever they thought was right in their own eyes, instead of following God. They also talked to God about wanting a king like the other nations around them. Today, we're going to be talking about those kings. Let's go! Bible! Story! Time! Bible story time! Before we begin today, we got to talk about the book of Ruth. It's a book of kindness and loyalty. And it takes place during the time of the Judges. And it helps us get a clearer picture of the family line of Abraham. You know, the guy we talked about way at the beginning of the series? Abraham. And it goes from Abraham to this guy named Jesse. But we'll get to him later in the story today. The book of Ruth is only 4 chapters long, so I would encourage you to go read it. How exciting! Now, as I said last time, the Israelite people wanted to have a king like the other nations around them. And before God gave them a king, he gave them a warning. In the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 8, he uses the prophet Samuel to go and talk to his people and give them this warning. And the warning from God was that the king will claim certain things, as his right. So things like taking sons and using them to fight wars, or using them to plow and harvest his own fields, use people as bakers and as cooks, and he would take the best of all that they made. And then God caps this warning with, if you do this, I will not be there for you. When you cry out for relief from the kings that you chose to have, I will not answer. Oof. Talk about a big warning. But the Israelite people, they didn't care. They wanted a king. So God gave them one. And the first king's name was Saul. Question. What types of characteristics do you think would make a good king? Talk about it. I think a king would be someone who is handsome, strong, good with a sword, and probably have some good people skills. Now Saul had those things, and on the outside he definitely looked like a king. And for the first part of his reign, he did well. He chose to follow God, and he led the Israelite people well. But he also had some major character flaws. Like he was very dishonest and prideful, and this led to his downfall. He led the Israelite people away from God instead of towards him. As a result, God chose a new king, and he uses the prophet Samuel to go pick that new king and anoint him in the town of Bethlehem. Prophet. Sounds like the word of the week. Word of the week! This week's word of the week. Prophet. Say it with me. Prophet! Awesome! Prophet is a person who God uses to talk to his people. Prophet! In 1 Samuel, chapter 16, we see the prophet Samuel going to meet a man named Jesse. From earlier? In a little town named Bethlehem. Now Jesse was regarded as a righteous man, and he had 8 sons. And God told Samuel that he would tell Samuel which one was going to be the next king. Jesse, show me your sons. I will go get them. Please wait here. And Samuel, each time he saw one of them, thought to himself, this must be the king. This must be the next chosen king, because of the way they looked on the outside. They all looked so kingly. But the Lord spoke to Samuel as this process was happening and told him that people look at the outside appearance, but God looks at the heart. So after the 7 sons had passed by Samuel without being picked, Samuel asked Jesse, Jesse, where's your last son? He's out tending the sheep. I'll go get him. And as David approaches, the Lord speaks to Samuel and says, "This is the one I have chosen. Anoint him to be king." So Samuel takes some oil and pours it on to David's head and anoints him as the next chosen king. God saw that David's heart was like his, full of love. And while he was chosen to be the next king, he wasn't quite king yet. But we'll get to that next time. A final question for us today. When was the last time you judged someone based on their appearance rather than their heart, their character, who they are? I know, a tough question, but I encourage you to talk to somebody you trust about it. And talk to them about how God sees people versus how people see people. I also encourage you to bring God into it and ask Him to help you see people's character, their heart, instead of their appearance. Until next time, I'll see you later.